Hi, Grandad. I am going to give to you today a version of a public lecture colloquium that I gave at the University of Bristol a couple of months ago. And I chose this for your video of Grandad's Learning Corner this week because I thought you might be interested to know a little bit more about some of the details of what I've been working on in my research, but also particularly because this talk touches on religious practice and interreligious negotiations and some of the motivations that may have influenced religious practice in Spain. And I think you're interested in religion and what motivates us and history and Spain to some extent. So I hope that you enjoy this. So without further ado, Three Boys in the Fire, typological and liturgical modeling in the liturgy for Saints Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis. They're Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis, three Christians from Cordoba. Confronting a city official, Eugenius, who has given them an order to worship false gods, they demand to know why he hates Christians and refuses to believe in the true God. Eugenius asks who they are and what they believe, and Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis give professions of faith. Eventually, their profession verges into a condemnation of Eugenius, and this is finally the last straw. Eugenius orders Faustus to be put on the rack, his ears and his nose cut off, his eyebrows shaved, and his teeth pulled out. Eugenius attempts to use Faustus as an example in order to coerce his companions to denounce their faiths. But as they each reaffirm their faith in turn, they each receive the same punishments. Finally, when Faustus tells Eugenius that he deserves to go to hell, Eugenius orders that they all be thrown into the fire. As soon as they enter the fire, they die. In the surviving Passio, or the martyrdom story of this trio of medieval Iberian saints, the description of the fire takes up little more than 3 sentences. And I have put these here on the slide with an English translation on the right. Far more prominent in this Passio are the verbal exchanges between the saints and their persecutor Eugenius, in essence the trial part of the story, and the other tortures that are inflicted upon them before they die. But when we turn to the surviving liturgy for the saints, particularly the chants, a very different emphasis emerges. The chants for Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis survive in only one manuscript, which is thought to be far from Cordoba, in San Millán de la Cogolla, in the northeastern part of Spain, or north central, whereas Cordoba is down here in the southern part. In this liturgy, the moments that the saints are in the fire take on much greater significance, an importance that's seen both in the texts and in the music. The liturgy's emphasis on fire, in contrast to its limited role in the Passio, is largely determined by the fact that the liturgy for Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis borrows significantly from the material for a liturgy for another group of 3 Iberian saints, Fructuosus, Augurius, and Eulogius. Fructuosus and his companions are the patron saints of Tarragona. This liturgy, in turn, models Fructuosus and his companions on 3 men from the Bible. In the book of Daniel, part of the kingdom of Judah has been conquered and led into exile in Babylon. Several young men have risen in the ranks of the Babylonian administration. Their names are Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael. At some point, King Nebuchadnezzar makes a golden statue and orders that everyone bow down to it. This is in conflict, of course, with the religion of Ananias, Azarias, and Mishael. So, refusing the order of King Nebuchadnezzar to bow down to the golden statue, they are all thrown into a fiery furnace. So, through the choices of liturgical compilation, our recorded martyrs, Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis, become saints who are modeled on saints who are modeled on saints. In the first part of my talk today, I will examine how this modeling is created and emphasized not only textually, but musically. In the second part of the talk, I'll explore the meaning and the symbolism of the three men in the fiery furnace in broader Iberian culture, and how the cultural connotations of these figures might have affected the way the liturgy of Faustus Januarius and Martialis was received. Doing so will let us consider the role the music of a liturgy can play in shaping a saint's identity. Ultimately, I propose, chant is an essential player in this process. The chants and the liturgy in which they are embedded provide a different, if not complementary, identity to that presented in the Passio. It's the choice of chant and the music of the chants themselves that allow Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis to take on a recognizable Cordovan identity that inscribes them into the broader negotiation of Christian identity and an understanding of Christian eschatology in medieval Iberia. So let's look at the way the music works in the liturgy to set Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis as the next reincarnation of the three boys in the fiery furnace. We begin with Vespers, the public office sung in the evening, the night before a saint's assigned feast day. Even within the proper Vespers hymn for Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis, we find an elevated importance given to fire, and the inclusion of details that more closely align them with the men in Daniel. As I just mentioned, in the Passio, the many tortures that they receive prior to death receive much more attention than does the ultimate cause of death, the fire. Hymn, in contrast, makes no mention whatsoever of these tortures. Instead, the tyrant immediately sentences the saints to be put into the fire, and then the saints happily go there. Such a punishment by a fiery furnace already links Faustus, Januarius, and Martialis with the three Hebrew men also thrown into a furnace. Further likening them to the biblical characters, in the hymn Gaudat Terba Nobilis, the saints sing a song when they enter the furnace, just as the three Hebrew men sing a song in the furnace in Daniel chapter 3. But again, in the Passio, no such singing occurs. Fire continues to be emphasized in two more chants from Vespers. Drawn from the Book of Wisdom, chapter 3, the antiphon Probabit Dominus Sanctos Suos compares the trying of saints to the clarification process of gold and silver. The longest melismas of the chant, syllables carrying the most notes, fall on the words Sanctos, Aurum, Argentum, and Theos,